This person still carries you in their mind. They pretend not to, but you're there. They try to live as if nothing has been left unresolved, but it has. And that's called guilt. Not guilt for having left, guilt for continuing to think about you, even after everything, even trying to move on. This person goes through their day normally, does what they need to, says what others want to hear. But when silence comes, it's your face that appears. It's not every day. But when it comes, it hits hard. It comes with memories, with details, with moments no one else saw. This person remembers you even in moments they'd rather not. When their body lies next to someone else, but their soul is still looking for your touch. This person tries to forget, but everything around them pokes at it, reminds them. The way you spoke, the pauses in between conversations, the calm you alone brought. There's a part inside that got stuck in that time, and that part calls out to you. Do you feel it? Because you can sense when someone thinks this much about you. This person tries to hide it, but it's visible in their lost gaze, in their contained reactions, in the anger that arises out of nowhere. There's something there that hasn't been resolved, and it's not nostalgia. It's a kind of emotional debt with what was felt, with what was lived, with everything they pretended not to feel. This person lies to everyone, but they couldn't lie to you. You touched too deeply. And now all that's left is this failed attempt to move on, without having really left. Do you notice this? There are days when the heart tightens, and you don't even know why. Maybe it's because of this. This person thinks about you, not because they want to, but because they can't help it. If this made you feel something, comment, "I needed to hear this." This person still thinks about you, and it's not just once in a while, it's all the time. Even in moments when they seem absent, distant, at peace, they're not. There's a presence of you there, even when you're not. There's a residue, a trace, an echo that remains. It's not about nostalgia, it's about unresolved presence. You got stuck in a corner of the mind that hasn't been cleared. A place where everything that was felt keeps happening, only in silence. This person tries to disguise it, with other people, with other conversations, with routines, distractions, but it doesn't work, because you appear in the gaps, in the pauses between one sentence and another, in the silence after a laugh that doesn't last, in the emptiness that emerges when everything around seems complete, but inside it's not. You inhabit that space, and this person notices it. They notice every time they try to move on. They notice when the body goes, but the heart still gets stuck. They notice when they try to feel for someone else and feel nothing. You went too deep. And everything that comes after feels shallow. This person feels guilt, not for you having left, but for not having been able to stop it. They feel guilt for choosing the easier path, for having stayed silent when you deserved to hear the truth, for having distanced themselves when everything in you said, stay. But fear was stronger. Pride spoke louder. And now the price is this thought that won't go away. You don't know, but this person has reread things you wrote. They've checked your profile more than once. They've wanted to reach out but didn't have the courage. They pretend to have forgotten. But when they hear your name, the body reacts, the stomach tightens, the chest tightens, memory ignites, and everything comes flooding back. There are days when they try to erase you from memory, really erase you, convince themselves that it was better this way, but it's a lie. Because even when they say it was the right choice, something inside whispers, you know you lost something you'll never find again. This person lies to everyone, but they could never lie to you. You saw too much. You perceived beyond what was said. You felt what they tried to hide, and that's frightening, because no one had touched that place before. No one had disarmed so many defenses just with presence, just with listening, just with calm. This person blames themselves for not holding on to what you offered, for backing away when they should have stayed, for letting fear win over surrender. Now they live in a cycle of repetition. Remember, pretend to forget, smile, distract themselves, remember again, and you feel that. Even without evidence, you feel it. You feel it when the day starts off strangely, when your heart tightens for no reason, when the air feels heavy, when a wave of anxiety appears without explanation. It's them, thinking, calling, regretting in silence. This person thinks of you with weight, with pain, with an internal admission they can't express, because they feel ashamed, because they have pride, because they're afraid you might not feel anything anymore. But you feel it, you sense it. There are times when the world slows down. In the middle of your day, for no reason, you stop, and think of them and don't understand why, it's because that thought is mutual, even if no one says it. You're being remembered in silence, revived in memory, sought out in others. You've become a benchmark, a before you and after you, and the after remains incomplete. This person tried to move on, tried to fill the void, tried to ignore it, but couldn't, because you can't erase something that was real. You can't replace what was felt with the soul. The body might forget, but the soul remembers. And that soul is still calling out to you, not with words, not with messages, but with thoughts, feelings, memories that burn. And you notice this. You notice because you carry the same restlessness, the same I can't explain, the same tightening that comes back in cycles. This person thinks of you when they wake up, thinks of you when everything goes wrong, thinks of you when something goes right, and wants to share it with someone but can't. You were that someone. You were the refuge, the laughter, the comforting silence. And now it's become a loud absence. This person feels guilty for having let you carry everything alone, for having demanded more than they offered, for having treated something that was deep as if it were just a phase. You were their roots, and she treated it like a branch, and now there's no more shade, no peace, just a heavy memory. And you feel it. You feel it even when you try to deny it, because no matter how much time passes, there are stories that don't die. There are connections that don't fade. There are people who don't disappear, and this person knows that. They just don't have the courage to come back, but they think about it. They think about it all the time. And the guilt they carry is what brings them closer to you. Because in the end, what still connects you two isn't what was said. It's what was felt, you know. And so do they. Have you ever been through this? Tell me in the comments. And if any of this resonated with you, comment, I needed to hear this. But there's something more. Something this person hides even from themselves. A truth that, if spoken, changes everything. This person feels not just guilt. They feel fear. Fear that you've moved on. Fear that you've overcome. Fear that you've seen the truth they spent their whole life trying to hide from everyone. They loved you. They loved you in a way they didn't understand. In a way that made them too vulnerable. They loved you so much that control slipped away. And for them, losing control is unacceptable. So they stepped back. They closed themselves off. They did to you what they learned to do with everything that touched them deeply. Push away. But this time it didn't work. Because what you had wasn't just a connection. It was identity. You were the mirror they avoided looking into, the presence that exposed their absences, the vulnerability that required courage, and they didn't have it. They pushed you away, ignored you, tested you, and when they realized, they had lost you. But they didn't lose the feeling. They lost the chance to live it. Today, this person walks around with a silence inside, a kind of forbidden longing, a love that still pulses, but doesn't know where to land anymore. You've become untouchable, distant, but never absent, because you remain where no one can take you away, in their consciousness. This person keeps asking themselves what would have happened if they had stayed, if they had said what they felt, if they had had more courage. And when she sees someone admiring you, when she hears your name come from someone else's lips, when she realizes that you're growing, moving forward, smiling, she feels it. She feels a bitter taste. It's not jealousy, it's real loss, because you were real. She thinks about reaching out to you, but she also thinks about what you would say. She's afraid of your gaze, of your silence, of your indifference, afraid of facing you and finding no refuge anymore, because knowing you was like accessing a place that no one else had, and losing that is like losing the only compass that pointed to what was true. This person lives with her body in the present, but her soul is anchored in the time when you both had each other. And everything that comes after seems like a fleeting attempt, never a presence. She even tries, distracts herself, gets involved, repeats phrases, smiles, gestures, but at the end of the night everything returns to you, to your way of listening, to your silence that brought comfort, to your ability to perceive even what she didn't say. You weren't just a presence. You were a refuge. You were warmth. You were home. And no one forgets where they last felt peace. This person thinks about you all the time, but she thinks even more when life demands truths, when the days are tough, when her heart can't find solace. It's in those moments that you appear with more strength, and there's a detail she never told you. Maybe she can't even bring herself to say it. Deep down, she's still waiting for you. She won't admit it. She doesn't plan it. She doesn't speak of it. But she waits. She waits for a sign. She waits for any kind of reunion. She waits to bump into you by chance. She hopes that you still feel something. She hopes that time hasn't erased everything. This person doesn't want to admit it, but she continues living as if one day you would come back, not to save, not to repeat, but to look into her eyes and realize that there's still something there. This silent wait is consuming, because she lives as if she expects nothing, but feels as if she's waiting for everything. And while you don't return, while you don't reach out, while you don't show up, this person tries to maintain her pride. She tries to be strong, try to smile, but feels incomplete. You became the missing piece, not out of dependence, but out of essence. You were the closest thing to who she really was, and perhaps that's why you were the one who scared her the most. Have you ever felt this, or are you still living it? If so, comment. That's me in silence. But it's not over yet, because there's one more weight that this person carries, and almost no one notices. This person carries a weight that doesn't show up in photos, that doesn't reveal itself on social media, but overflows when no one is watching. It's a kind of pain that doesn't turn into tears. It turns into a pillow squeezed at night. It turns into a fixed stare into nothing. It turns into an emotional exhaustion that has no logical explanation, because her body keeps going, but her soul is still stuck in the exact moment you left, or rather, the exact moment she let you go. This is the part that hurts the most. She could have held on. She could have said, stay. She could have shown how she felt, but she didn't say, she didn't show, she didn't fight. And now she lives in this almost stayed, almost spoke, almost loved for real. And what destroys from the inside isn't the end. It's the almost that never turned into presence. This person never told you, but she read and reread every message you sent. She saved your words. She remembered little details, and deep down she wished you would notice, that you would come back, that you would insist a little more, but you got tired, and rightly so. This person realized too late that you were rare, that no one else would have that way of looking, that clear listening, that peace disguised as a hug. Today everyone seems too noisy, too fast, too superficial. And you became the reference of what was true, of what felt like home, of what was soul. This person doesn't admit this to anyone. She keeps saying she is fine. She keeps smiling with her face, but wilts inside. And when she hears your name, her body reacts before her mind. There's a shiver that passes, a chill that hits, a pain that returns, because your name is not just a name. It's living memory. You were more than a relationship, you were transformation. And that person couldn't keep up. You evolved. You felt deeply. You gave more than you received. And she withdrew. And today she finds herself surrounded by people she can't connect with. People who enjoy the superficial version, but can't see what you saw. This person feels invisible now. Because after being seen by you, everything else feels blind. You saw her completely, even when she tried to hide. And this kind of awareness doesn't fade away. It becomes etched in the body. It gets recorded in memory. She thinks of you all the time because it was with you that she felt alive. Scared, yes, but alive. For the first time, someone saw her beyond the mask, beyond the pose, beyond the armor. And that frightens her more than any rejection. She no longer has peace because now she knows what she's lost. She didn't just lose any love. She lost the chance to be herself with someone, and that isn't easily found. That's why she thinks of you before she sleeps. That's why she feels it when you pull away. That's why she carries this guilt that weighs heavier each day. It's not about reconciliation. It's about awareness. This person now knows, now realizes, now understands. But maybe it's too late. And if you were to come back today, her first reaction would be to go silent. Because she wouldn't know what to say, because she wouldn't know how to explain. Because deep down, she's afraid that you might not be the same anymore. That your gaze might not recognize her, that your heart might be someplace else. And that's where the despair lies, not knowing if there's still time, not knowing if it's still possible to return, not knowing if you still wait. This person thinks of you and suffers from the doubt she created with her own hands. She pushed you away but never let you go. And you feel it. You feel it when the day stalls. You feel it when a thought invades. You feel it when your chest tightens for no reason. It's her reminding you without meaning to. And no matter how much she tries to pretend, there's a part of you that notices. Have you ever felt that? What are you feeling right now? If you are, Comment, "This is exactly what I couldn't say." If this touched you, leave a like, comment on what impacted you the most, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe here so you don't miss the upcoming truths that will both hurt and heal.